Hello, everyone. It's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and welcome to Wasteland Talks, my weekly talk show where I talk about whatever the hell I want. And for this episode, we're not doing an album analysis, but Alex and Jim are here, and we're going to do a top three video of our favorite guitarists. So, Alex, Jim, thank you both so much for coming on.
Thank you, man. Thanks for
There's
having
never a
us.
wrong time to rock.
That's right.
That's what I always say.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's very topical. D. Snyder retiring.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know.
yeah, apparently he quit with his sister. I'm like, I'm done. 50 years of rocking was enough for him.
Yeah,
But
that's a lot.
how it's a long time. So how we're gonna handle this, Alex is gonna give us his three guitars, then Jim's gonna give us his three guitars, and then I'm gonna give you all my three guitarists, and then we'll throw some honorable mentions. But Alex, where would you like to start?
So I'm going to start with Jimi Hendrix. I have to start with Jimi Hendrix, and that's because a big part of that has to do with the second name that I'll mention later. But he was so innovative. He influenced so many people who came after him. And he did things with the guitar nobody had ever done before. And people are still emulating him to this day. And I always try to pick, I'm not a big like me personally, even though I always enjoyed like heavy metal as I was growing up. I was never into like the shredding guitar players,
Mm.
even though I appreciated like their ability to do it. He was a great songwriter and he had a lot of soul, Jimi Hendrix did. And it's not just the solos, it's like the rhythm lead. It's his ability to play and sing at the same time. It's his ability to go from like these kind of like these power chords into these lead parts that made it so cool and hard to hard to play, So I'm not sure if I don't think I've actually ever learned. I think I learned how to play Purple Haze at one point, and maybe Hey Joe, because those are a little bit easier, just to get the rhythm. But I never learned like Castle Made of Sand or Little Wing or some of those great songs. So yeah, and he made a whole bunch of music in a very short period of time, and he obviously would have done a whole lot more had he not died so young. So I gotta pick Jimi Hendrix at kind of at the front there.
I'm wondering if each of us will have somebody who died tragically too young. Um, we'll have to see. But whenever I think of Jimi Hendrix, I automatically think of Voodoo Child, Slight
Yeah,
Return. Damn,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
killer. And like he, like I feel like he was one of the ones who like really defined what rock guitarists were going to be. And you know, there's a lot of other very famous guitarists who's like he was the best or he was their favorite, and that's really impressive the amount of influence that he's had on people.
yeah,
He set the
yeah.
bar very, very high as far as rock guitarists go. I have met Buddy Guy, who, from whom Hendrix borrowed a lot of riffs.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure this is going to come again, uh, that's kind of a common practice in blues music is to just borrow.
Hmm.
It's not stealing, it's borrowing.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so I never met Jimi Hendrix, obviously, but I got to meet Buddy Guy. He gave me a pick, which is
Oh wow.
somewhere, probably at my with my parents somewhere.
You met one of
But it
the
was
stars of Sinners.
one of his, yeah, yeah. Um, that'll come back around too. But it was one of his signature picks. Like it had his actual name on it, so we didn't have to sign it, which was clever. Alex, did you ever listen to, I think it was called Band of Gypsies?
I've never, only a little bit. I've never really dug into their
Okay.
stuff,
Well, I think it was his last or one of his last live performances. Um, and you hear a lot more of that, like you said, rhythm ability, and then like the lead response.
Mhm.
He was
Yeah.
doing a lot less of the shredding and the spectacular stuff, and he
Right.
was doing a lot more of the soulful, just expressiveness, which makes his untimely passing just a lot more tragic, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My understanding is so it was explained to me the band the Gypsies was part of that was he was contracted to make all this music. And
Mm.
so he owed the record company like all these albums. So Band of Gypsies was part of that effort to make more albums for the record company. I'm sure there's more to that story, but yeah, just his ability to all the different sound effects and all the different sounds he could make with the guitar and the amplifier, as like a lot of the technology was still being developed. I
Mm.
think there were pedals, but there weren't very many pedals, you know. A lot of it was just him
He had
trying
a
to like,
pedal.
yeah.
Yeah, he had like one pedal.
Right. He did what he could. He did
There is
everything he
one
could with
song
that
called,
one pedal. Yeah. Oh, we lost Jim.
We lost Jim. Jim will be back momentarily. Uh, but no, I there's so many iconic songs that Jimi Hendrix had, and just listening to him on guitar, and obviously when you're that famous that you can do like the Star Spangled Banner in your way, and that it becomes like an iconic performance, it's like pretty legit.
Yeah.
So it's something pretty special. But as Jim's returning to us,
Yeah.
Alex, who do you have up next?
It's still me. Still me.
Yes, we're gonna
Oh,
go through Alex's, then go through
okay.
Jim's, then mine.
So I mean, John Frusciante. I have to pick John Frusciante, obviously, and there is no John Frusciante without Jimi Hendrix. If it's not obvious when you listen to, I mean, like just like even Under the Bridge, talk about rhythm into lead,
Hmm.
and all these different wonderful songs and sounds. That solo at the end of Scar Tissue on a Stratocaster, is obviously is super influenced by Jimi Hendrix. But I think that Frusciante was able to kind of like simplify what Hendrix did and kind of make it his own, um, for this very weird band. They
Hmm.
went from being this punk funk band to this alternative rock, touring machine in the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And but like Jimi Hendrix, he evolved, his sound album to album, but then he also kind of simplified what he did album to album. And he's also like Hendrix, also an amazing singer. He has an incredible range as a vocalist,
Hmm.
and he's kind of a mad scientist, in a way. But he really followed in Hendrix's footsteps because he lifted up um, the songs he made. He made the music so much better with everything he did, from all the different guitar layering,
Hmm.
which has had a big influence on me, and also using his vocals to kind of give a lift to the songs as it goes from first chorus to second verse into the bridge. Like he really like started to become a master of that by the his fourth effort with the Chili Peppers on Stadium Arcadium. Um, so yeah, yeah, just his evolution. So for Shantae's, he's my guy.
I wound up re-listen. I wound up listening to Californication again,
Oh yeah.
start top to bottom over the weekend, and honestly, I've been listening to some Chili Peppers on and off throughout the week, and it was definitely like you could definitely tell a difference, like that first album that he wasn't on, and it's so interesting because their sound is just so interesting and different,
Mhm.
and obviously, you know, Anthony Kiedis and Flea are like the big people in the band,
Mhm.
and they a lot more than most bands. They put the bass out in front with a lot of stuff. But when that guitar comes in, something special
Yeah,
and leaves a
yeah,
special sound. And I think I feel like he's probably one of the more underappreciated parts of a lot of those songs because like I mentioned, it's the same deal where it's like if you have those big personalities in the band, sometimes like the quieter ones kind of get like fall back into the back and you
yeah.
know, if you really listen to the guitar is really heavy, really intricate, and really impressive on those Chili Pepper albums for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, um, yeah, it's hard. I mean, Flea is a maniac,
Yep.
and he's always, the thing is, he's always been a maniac. And without Flea, there is no Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Mm,
You could say, you could make a case for all of them, but like, there has to be somebody who like rises up to that level. And
mm,
is one of the few people who can do it, but yeah. No, that's cool. Like when we did the Californication record, all those songs, This Velvet Glove and Other Side and Parallel Universe and all these wonderful Road Tripping, all these amazing things. You
mm,
go back and listen. Oh, that's an acoustic guitar. Oh, that's an electric guitar. That must be a different amplifier because there's always there's so much like it's simple things, simple melodies, simple guitar parts, but it's all like, he put a lot of thought into how to make each guitar sound a little bit
mm.
different and have it be more effective. So yeah, he's awesome.
I thought it was Under the Bridge is obviously like the go-to example for his kind of technique, but also his creativity. What's your deep cut for Shante? Like, if somebody's heard none of his music before,
Yeah.
do you give them Under the Bridge, or do you go with like a different song to
I don't go with
introduce
under
them?
the. It's hard. I mean, I always try to point folks toward. If you like folk music, I point you toward Desecration Smile. And that's a good example for the guitar layering and also him using his voice to kind of take the song to a place that it wouldn't be had he not had his vocal on there because he does like an echo heart like to Anthony's voice on it that sounds so freaking amazing, and it's not a song that people talk about a lot, but it's very Neil Youngish, that song, if you listen to Desecration Smile. And then Wet Sand is like the big heartstring deep cut that fans talk about a lot. And
Mhm.
the guitar solo at the end is awesome. And it's actually his voice that leads into the guitar solo. So it's very, you know, super instrumental to the sound of some of those more heartfelt Chili Pepper songs, you know. So yeah, yeah, very, just um, multi-dimensional. Really great songwriter. Such a great songwriter.
Awesome. And your last one.
Oh, my last one. This one's a different one. John Petrucci from Dream Theater.
Mm,
Now he is a shredder. He can shred with the best of them. Um, but I kind of chose him because there was an era of Dream Theater's songwriting in the 90s going into the early 2000s. These two records that I always have to go back to are called Scenes from a Memory, which was a concept album. I think Shane, I think you'd really dig it. I'm thinking both would dig it, but Shane too, because there's something very cinematic about it. It's very.
I'm a pretty big fan of Dream Theater.
Oh, okay. So you know
Um,
you know all about Scenes from a Memory.
well, because it's like it's progressive metal music, and it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and Scenes from a Memory and 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence are both these really great records. And these are these great records they have right before they got really heavy. Like they decide to get really heavy on an album called Train of Thought, which is great if you like heavy music. It's awesome. But um, Scenes from Memory and 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence are these concept albums where there's just great songwriting. It's like really emotional, kind of heartbreaking stuff that goes on in the story of this of the albums.
Mm.
And there's just these really cool chords, different tunings, and just wild, really cool stuff. Um, and yeah, so yeah, John. I just think John Petrucci was a in that moment of time from like the '90s and the early 2000s. One of my I always go back to some of his guitar, his chord progressions and riffs, and shout out to, of course, the drummer at the time. Well, he's the drummer again, I think, Mike Portnoy, because he had a lot to do with the songwriting and the composition of those songs. So, yeah.
I think when people think about who's in Dream Theater, it's Portnoy is probably the one that pops up most. But
Great.
no, like their music's so heavy and intricate and cool and creative, and just throwing like 10-minute songs at you like it's
Yeah.
nobody's business.
Yeah.
Take you
Have
for a
you
journey. Um,
have you guys ever listened to um, A Change of Seasons, the 25-minute song they have?
I think so. It's one of those things where I first heard Dream Theater because of Guitar Hero.
Oh, do you remember the song?
It was Pull Me Under.
Pull Me On. Oh, of course, of course.
In Guitar Hero World Tour, through the credits, you play Pull Me Under by Dream Theater. And it's so cool. And you're like in a gold chariot being flown by like lions with wings across the sky. And you're just a bunch of like really famous like rock stars.
Yeah.
Like Ozzy's your singer, and I think Zach Wild is your guitarist. And it's crazy. But
Uh,
no, it's like
I
if you
wish
make a series called Guitar Hero, some Dream Theater in there's some pretty cool because
it's
like
badass.
the guitar is amazing, it's complex, it's layered, it's there's so much variety to what
Yeah.
they do with their music, so that's really
It,
cool.
it's like, yeah.
He was classically trained, was he not, Petrucci? I know he was well educated in music, but I'm not sure what his like background was
I
before he came into rock.
I don't know what his education was. I do know that my understanding was the keyboard player went to Juilliard, so
Oh,
there's
I just know that somebody from Dream Theater was like a Berkeley dropout. Might have been
oh,
Portman, might have been Petrucci, I don't know.
okay,
But they
that's
were
good.
just they were too forward thinking for school,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
John Paul Jones or I don't know. It was probably a lot of guys,
we get bored, right?
mostly guys who,
Yeah,
let's be honest, have dropped out of an institution because they just couldn't sit still and study the way they were supposed to.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think it worked out for him, but
I think it did.
no,
Uh
yeah, no,
Petrucci attended Berklee College of Music in Boston
okay, yeah,
Did
with
he?
childhood friend John Myung, who's the bass player, and they've met
okay.
future bandmate Mike Portnoy.
They
So
all went to Berkeley. Did they graduate though? Do you see? Is that in front of you,
putting
Professor?
on my cheaters. Um, I'm trying to see if it says if they finished or not. I guess that's not an important detail for them to put
Right.
on there.
At this point, it's not. It's not.
That's funny. That's well, it's I just recorded a song you might have heard of me play. It's called "Prison in a Cup," and I had a kid, 25-year-old man, 26-year-old man. I'm calling him a kid. Yeah,
Children.
that's new, right? Some kid. Uh, he actually did graduate from Berkeley. And it's funny because I realized it the other day because I was like, oh, you went to school up in Boston? He goes, yeah, yeah, in Boston. It's like, I don't think you know, he doesn't advertise that he went to Berkeley, but he's a
If you
very,
told me that Dream Theater was not made up of a bunch of college educated music students who are a bunch of nerds, then I'd be shocked, to be
yeah,
perfectly honest. But it's so funny looking at them though. Like they
yeah,
all look like they went from this fine college of music
no,
with
right,
their
right,
big ass
exactly.
beards and long hair.
Hair. Yeah, they're still rocking the long hair, right? I think at one point I think Petrucci cut it, but then I think he grew it back. But I mean, yeah, no, I mean, because you see these thrash metal and these speed metal bands who can play really fast, but these guys are doing things on those records that are like, what is this? It's like
Impressive.
I'll hear shit in my brain while I'm trying to get to sleep at night when I listen. So it's like listening to classical music in some ways. It's really nuts. It's really
That's the
cool.
thing, because metal music either came from the blues or it came from classical music. And
Yeah,
I think I was drawn to Dream Theater, especially since like I'm a Rush fan. So
for
that's
sure.
like
Yeah,
it's just metal Rush. And
right.
I know Mike Portnoy is a big fan of Rush because he's in my Beyond the Lighted Stage documentary.
Of course. Oh, he had to. I mean, there's no Portnoy without Neil Peart.
Yeah, he
Pure.
he was in there, and like Kirk Hammett from Metallica is a diehard Rush fan, and Jack Black.
Jack Black
Obviously, who was the most entertaining person in the documentary. Um, him and Sebastian Bach,
from Skid Row.
couple couple of characters.
Wow. Oh, sure. Oh, I'm sure.
But Jim, where do you want to start?
So as predictable, I knew Frusciante was going to be on your top three, Alex. You guys could probably have guessed that Jimmy Page was going to be in my top three.
Oh, of course.
When I switched from piano to guitar, and it's not like I was a good student of either one. I just kind of I took lessons in piano, and then I was like 12, 13 years old. I hated the recitals, hated them. I remember my last recital I did, I left like puddles on the keys because I was just so nervous. So I just wasn't interested in doing piano anymore. And my mom had a guitar. So somehow, I don't remember how, I came across Led Zeppelin and I chronologically went through their albums, one through, I don't know, eight, 10, 9, 10, or
At least
something.
they're numbered, most of them.
Well, the one through four are numbered, and then there's several studio albums that are
Yeah.
titled, and then there's a Coda, which came out after Bonham died. And anyway, Jimmy Page was like he was the brains behind Led Zeppelin. He
Mhm.
produced the music. He wrote a lot of the music. He formed the band, and then the fact that he had this like dark aura about him was kind of intriguing too.
His
Um,
space pants and constellations and stuff on them.
the funny thing about Jimmy Page is that he was a studio musician, as was John Paul Jones, the
Hmm.
bass player of Led Zeppelin. Um, and if you listen to him play early in his career, he's on it. Like you just you can't mess up as a studio musician. So he reads music fluently, and he is quick with improvisation. The funny thing about Zeppelin is that a lot of the playing is kind of sloppy. Like the solos are kind of sloppy, and that was all by design. And that's still kind of it was a vision thing. Like he had the ability to play tight, funky guitar, but he chose to play sloppy, drunk, high, blues, rock, whatever it was that they were doing with the Muddy Waters and the Robert Johnson. Shane, you had a thought. I saw it on your face.
I was just thinking he needed to give extra space for all the oh baby baby oh yeah baby. Listening to live Led Zeppelin is either like you're cued into it or you're just like my man, please stop. I
Right.
can't hear you groan and moan and orgasm on stage anymore, man.
It's it's funny. They actually had a different singer in mind when they were, well, Jimmy did. Jimmy Page had a different singer, and a different drummer, I think, in mind when he was forming the band. I think his name was Terry Reid, the other vocalist. So if Robert Plant hadn't been the singer of Led Zeppelin, I think, first of all, it would have been a very different animal, but like,
Yeah.
I might have even liked it more. Plant is kind of like just kind of tolerate him, like a lot of front men, like Mick Jagger. You just kind of like, you just give him space, let him do his thing. Like that's what he does.
Sure.
And then the music just kind of happens around him. Yeah, so I was intrigued by Jimmy Page's attention to detail. Like those recordings are very complicated, and often you couldn't do them live, which is why a lot of the live Zeppelin recordings aren't great because there was a lot of guitar layering and whatever. And I also liked his like folk influences and his kind of he listened to Indian music and sitars and um, exactly Kashmir famously being a not of a Western kind of music
Yeah.
scale.
It's weird. It's a weird tune.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so he's my number one. I think Jimmy Page has got to be number one.
You can realize just how powerful of a musician and influential he is in that it might get loud thing that he did where like he just starts playing in the edge and Jack White are just like it's like Jack White and the Edge are pretty darn famous guitarists themselves
Mhm.
and very successful and they're just like oh my god. They're
Yeah.
like I'm a child again listening to Led Zeppelin for the first time. But like Jimmy Page has created some of the most iconic riffs in the history of rock music. Like it's
Yeah.
the what he's done in music is absolutely incredible. And I would probably be inclined to agree. Robert Plant is certainly not my favorite part of Led Zeppelin, but Jimmy Page is my favorite part of Led Zeppelin. And it's one of those things where it's like he started off with like the Yardbirds, which apparently what the hell was going on with that band that they had Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck and then Jimmy Page as their lead guitarists.
That's a lot of
And they
ego. That's a
folded.
lot.
They couldn't even capitalize on any of the talent that was coming through the Yardbirds.
That just goes to show, right? So it's not about having the best, all the
So
best. It's more of a
I
dream team, you know.
watched a really interesting documentary about the zombies that gave me a lot of perspective on why so many of those British bands from the 60s, like that era, didn't stick. Because apparently a lot of the agents and managers out of the UK were like, we're going to run them ragged for a couple years and dump them
Mm,
and move on to the next one.
yeah.
And apparently that plagued a lot of those British invasion bands. So
Mhm.
like good for bands like Led Zeppelin that lasted 12 years and you know because like Cream didn't and Cream was extremely talented
Mhm.
and a lot of those things. It's a very interesting documentary, would recommend it.
What was the name of the documentary?
Oh. Um
While Shane looks for the name of the documentary, I will just give an honorable shout out to Cream while we're here. Ginger Baker could give Bonham a run for his money, I think. Drums. And they wrote some really interesting songs.
Yeah, they're
Cream did.
very super unique.
Yeah.
Super unique.
Is anybody actually going to put Clapton on their list?
Mm. Mm. And
Well,
I can tell you why, but
Hmm.
we're waiting to hear the name of the documentary first.
I'm still looking for it, so you can
So
proceed.
my Uncle John, my Uncle Johnny, like Clapton's like might be like his number one. He loves he grew up in that era, and he was born in 55, so he loved Hendrix. But I think he actually prefers Clapton, which I just don't get it. I just don't feel like I mean Layla is an amazing song, an amazing riff. Some of that stuff from Cream was great, and of course I like the acoustic version of Layla for the soul in it. But a lot of the stuff in between,
Layla
like the
got
really
me
like the
on my knee.
bluesy stuff, it just like I feel like I might have to, collect Social Security in order to like the blues. I'm sorry. Might
It's too
have.
polished for me.
Yeah.
That's what I've decided. It's too polished.
Yeah.
As I move through my list, I might have more to say about it, but like Clapton is technically an excellent guitarist. It's just interesting to me that he chose the blues and then he chose to make like the polished blues with 12 people on stage with him
Yeah.
his thing. That's kind of Clapton's thing, is it not? Um, he's fine. I'm not worried about like with the royalties and the Scorsese and I mean the
Hung up
graffiti.
on a dream, the zombies documentary.
Okay.
There we go.
Cool.
Hung
I'll
up
check.
on a dream, the zombies documentary.
Yeah, check that out. Yeah.
Um,
My favorite Clapton, sorry, is the Crossroads cover that he did. Um, I think it was before Cream. I think it was early in his career, but it has an energy
yeah.
that he
Well, because he's slow
doesn't have
hand.
the other. What's that?
He's slow hand.
Hmm.
Most of his songs are not fast
Slow
hand.
hand. That's
Yeah.
Um,
yes.
I would like to talk about Layla. I would like to give a shout out to Dwayne Allman, who did the slide guitar on that, because
Oh,
he was indeed a great guitarist himself.
nobody talks about that. Yeah. Yeah.
I talk about that because
I'm
I do
guessing then that
I do love the
Dwayne
Allman
not on
Brothers band.
Shane's.
So but yes, who do you have
Dwayne
next,
Allman,
Jim?
you can recognize the tone. Uh,
Mhm.
okay, so speaking of okay, tone. Speaking of tone, Les Paul. And I came to Les Paul through Jimmy Page because that was Jimmy Page's guitar of choice. Um, Even if he was playing an SG, I didn't realize until recently the SG is also a Les Paul innovation. Gibson basically built their modern dynasty over Les Paul. Um, Interesting dude. All right, Les Paul, he's like a Midwestern guy who kind of lucked his way into television. So he would show up on this television and that movie, but he was really good at playing the guitar. Like one of the best technical players I've ever seen play the guitar. His favorite style to play was kind of a country gypsy jazz thing, which the end result is just very unsexy. He's like the unsexiest guitarist you're ever going to watch play the instrument. But he was also an inventor. So essentially, he had a massive influence on the recording industry that we know. He invented the solid body guitar, which bears his name. To be fair, he's not like, in an unmarked grave somewhere. He was recognized. Great performer. SG invented the 8-track. I didn't know that until last night when I watched a little documentary on him on YouTube called The Wizard of Waukesha.
Damn.
That's his hometown. Yeah, he was the guy who got credit at least for the A track. I see the skepticism on Alex's face.
No, 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 no.
Vastly opened up to it.
I just didn't know that. Yeah, it was some
Too bad
guy.
he didn't invent a more successful, sustainable one, though.
It was my great uncle. You know.
Originally named Lester William Pulsfuss, he lived into his 90s and only passed away in 2009, like very recently.
Wow.
94 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the guitar sound that's like my platonic ideal of guitar tone. That is the Les Paul. And I guess we're just kind of sprinkling our honorable mentions in through the show. There's a guy named Robin Ford, BBEN, Robin Ford, who is also, he's pretty well recognized, focuses on the blues. The best Les Paul sound I've ever heard was from his guitar. I could share, the song's called Humble Strut. I'll send it to the group chat for you guys later, but
Yeah.
you could easily find it on YouTube or Spotify or whatever. Yeah, like rock guitar to me, that's the sound, the Les Paul sound.
Cool.
Should I
Hey,
keep going?
there was a couple of like early artists that I was like contemplating throwing out there, like because I am super into blues music, so like I do love Muddy Waters, I love BB King, and you know I've actually been on a blues kick lately, and I think it might be because of Sinners, um, to be perfectly honest. And I I was one of the people in the theater who knew that was Buddy Guy at the end of Sinners, and I'm like, I know who that is. And but no, it's cool going back and looking at like some of those early players were really legit, but like music back then wasn't particularly like complicated for what you would expect today listening to like rock music and stuff like that. But it's an interesting pull, Jim.
Thank you, thank you. Number three for me is Robert Johnson. The I don't know if he'd be the most famous blues man at this point. At a certain point, he was kind of the guy nobody knew about. Like if you were hip, you knew about Robert Johnson, you know. But he's kind of like Alex. I think you said Hendrix has influenced everybody. Like Robert Johnson has influenced everybody, whether directly or indirectly. Like,
Yeah.
but there's not a lot known about him. So a lot of what we know of the Robert Johnson story is a big old myth about
The
how he
devil.
sold his soul to the devil at the crossroads,
Right.
and only lived a few years longer and died at the age of 27. So he's the founder of the 27 Club. I just feel sorry for everybody who died at 26 and 28, who like we forget about because they weren't exactly 27. Robert Johnson.
Jim, yeah, you should go to an open mic with that one. I hope that was original.
That was, yeah, it was. Somebody said it before, I'm sure. Robert Johnson made the blues sound that rock and roll was built on. He had a very short career, from what I understand, just a few years in his 20s. He was arrogant and abrasive and was poisoned by maybe a jealous husband. I don't know, at the age of 27.
Oh wow.
But that whole legend of like selling your soul to the devil and the lifestyle of like hard drinking, hard living, only caring about the craft. That all appealed to me. I think there's only one or two photos of him that actually exist. One of them, he's got his huge. He had like Hendrix had big hands too, and he used his thumb a lot. One of those
Yeah.
pictures, I think, was a promotional photo. He's dressed up real well,
Mhm.
but his fingers, you can tell, are really long. And he's playing this big chord on the guitar that's just really easy for him. And the other one, he's smoking a cigarette and just looking into the camera. It's a portrait. Um, I prefer that one, actually. Some of the dramatizations of that photo I've seen have devil horns on the shadow behind the picture. I think that's kind of cool.
Where was he? Do you remember where he's from originally?
Mississippi.
Mississippi,
Okay.
yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the town, but it was like a, you know, nothing. It was a nowhere, no name little town in the Delta.
You know, I
It
remember. I think they still do.
was
I think they still do like a blues festival down there
Oh, do they?
because just for that, you know, I mean, it's where it started, right? It's kind of where it all
Hazelhurst, Mississippi. Hmm.
Hazelhurst.
That
Wow.
is where he's from.
Wow.
And it said that his recording career was only 7 months.
7 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He there's a documentary on Netflix that is it's not a typical rock doc. One, because most of the people that knew him aren't around anymore.
Right.
Two, because it uses a lot of animation, and I'll just give like my favorite fact that I remember from watching that is that Hellhound on My Trail is one of my favorite songs is.
Hmm.
And there's something about sprinkling dust on like the lintel or the doorstep or something. Apparently that came from like when a slave ran away and they knew they had a safe haven, they would put chili powder, hot powder. That's what the lyric is. They would put chili powder outside the door. So when the bloodhounds came looking for the runaway, they would like inhale the chili powder and be like, "Oh, fuck this," and just go away. His music is full of just little references like that, or references to like hoodoo, superstition that we just we have no real connection to, you know, in modern day society.
Yeah, I I appreciate you went way back to the roots of all of this for sure. And I definitely two of well actually all three of mine definitely have a lot of like roots you could tell in like blues music and stuff like that. But the my number three was really, really hard for me to choose because trying to narrow this down to three was very challenging. And I wound up going with Carlos Santana
Wow.
Oh, nice.
because I love his mixture of blues and his Mexican influences with Latin music, and then also like 60s psychedelic rock music.
Right.
Especially because like if you listen to like 60s Santana, like there's a reason they performed at Woodstock. Um it was very much like that era. It's like listening to Europa go for like 15 minutes at Woodstock. But I appreciate that one he'd been killing it for years and well into the 21st century. Like one of the albums that I've listened to more than any other album is Supernatural by Santana. Because
Yeah.
my mom had I think five CDs in her truck, and it was Californication, Supernatural, two Matchbox 20s, and a Goo Goo Dolls
Yep.
CD. So
Sounds
like
about right.
it was all from like that late 90s
That's funny.
era. And like Santana plays with has played with so many different people. Like the last song, The Calling, on Supernatural that he does a guitar duet with Eric Clapton. Really cool. And you know, he's made some great riffs and everything. Like song Smooth is just such a cool such a cool song. And that was such an interesting album because basically he agreed to do half the songs on Supernatural were going to be with big artists to sell the album, and then he got to do the rest of them in Spanish.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I had recently watched a Carlos Santana documentary over the past couple years too, because they wound up doing one on him. And it's that interesting mixture of like blues and Latin music and his guitar playing and everything. And, I he had that Guitar Heaven album too, where it was nothing but covers with the most random group. Um, like he covered Back in Black with Nas, the rapper.
Huh.
He did Sunshine of Your Love with Rob Thomas, which was pretty cool. So like and he's collaborated with
20.
from Michelle Branch to Chad Kroger and everybody in between, and the guitar is always amazing on it, and it has all that infused blues and Latin music, and because I'm pretty sure he's from like San Francisco area, like out that way. Spent a lot of time there, so but no, I love Santana. I've listened to a lot of Santana since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I have that album still somewhere, Supernatural.
Supernatural.
Uh, my uncle, apparently, that was his favorite artist. My uncle died relatively young. He was in his 40s, I think, still.
Wow.
Appendix rupture.
Mm.
You know, what can you do? Um, so I inherited his Santana records, and I still have them stashed away.
Nice.
Some of the coolest album covers that you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Abraxas and
Yeah.
forget the name of the other. But like how cool is it that you can say you hear like one little phrase of that guitar and you're like, oh, it's Carlos Santana. You know immediately you know who that is. That's
Yeah.
really hard to do in an era where everyone was playing the guitar, you know?
Mhm. Yeah. He has a signature sound. That's for sure. Um, yeah, smooth. There's something very powerful about that song. It's you can't. It's just ice cream for your ears. But there were a lot of songs on that record that were like that. Um, and yeah, I mean, he's not a go-to for me, but there is nobody else sounds like that, which is very weird. It's kind of funny because it's just he found something very specific about that tone. That's a really good
Now,
point.
I cannot speak Spanish, but I can sing along to most of the songs from that album.
Yeah, yeah.
It
I've
just
listened.
there's so many and he knew when to lean into like that like rock sound and also when to lean into Latin music. And you get all of that on Supernatural. It's so cool. Next one. So hopping over the pond to Scotland, and it's Mark Knopfler. Finger picking good.
Yeah.
Like just watching this man play guitar is so cool, especially because like he does not use a pick. Like he's playing all that with his fingers. And not gonna lie, I ever so often watch it's like that it was very obviously like mid 80s because they all had those like obnoxiously colored suits and stuff on. And it's like Eric Clapton and somebody else on that stage, and Mark Knopfler just starts playing the riff from Money for Nothing, and it's just like something special about it. And that's a thing too, because like he had amazing riffs in a lot of those songs, but then he also had songs like Sultans of Swing that
Mhm.
just has so much great like that blues infused kind of playing, and what he's done since with his career after like post Dire Straits has been so interesting, eclectic, and it's like he mixes jazz, he mixes folk music, he mixes country music, and all of these different types of things. And he does amazing. Like he did the score for The Princess Bride.
I didn't know that.
I don't
Like
think I
all
knew
that
that either.
guitar playing on there is him,
Mm.
and he has such an eclectic catalog of music. And I still listen to his new music because honestly, each of his albums has something interesting and how he approaches it. And he just looks so cool up there playing that guitar, where it's just like he's not the kind of person that's like up there like smiling, super getting into it. And it's just like, no, he's there to do the business and
Mm.
play that guitar.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also like a cool match with like the very smooth like his singing voice and everything too.
He also has a sound that is instantly recognizable because of the technique and the tone, I suppose. He apparently, people call it a waterfall technique. Alex, I don't know how many kids came into the School of Rock wanting to learn the Sultans of Swing solo.
Not
I
not a
never
lot.
really saw the point in that because, like, the whole a solo is supposed to be improvised, you know? So, like, learning someone else's solo, which was maybe or maybe not an inspirational, just lightning strike of expression. Yeah, I don't know. So I never tried to learn the Sultans of Swing solo. Uh, who is to say that I could have even played it if I tried to learn it?
Yeah, it
Really
is an
impressive.
iconic.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Shane started talking, I eventually got the "Money for Nothing" riff in my head. But as soon as you went back to Sultans of Swing, I can't now. I can't get. I like literally have the solo in my head. You have it like not like note for note in my head. There's something iconic about. You can't get away from that song. You cannot get
Mm.
away. The song is everywhere. And there is something to be said for the finger playing, even on an electric guitar through like a really loud amplifier. In one of the videos you had sent through Instagram, I
Mhm.
noticed I was like, "Ooh, that sounded really good." Oh, he's playing with his fingers. That makes a difference. Like it does make a big difference. In the
There,
tone.
it has like a plucky kind of sound to how he plays the guitar, even with like if you think about Sultans of Swing, it's a lot of like a in terms of like how the guitar sounds because how he's playing off of it. And there's a lot of like quick notes, and he has some fast fingers because some of the stuff that he's able to do is kind of ridiculous.
Crazy.
Playing the guitar for sure. And my last one and my favorite is Stevie Ray Vaughan, who is who was a true showboat. Some of the videos watching him play guitar is ridiculous. Him throwing it behind his back or playing it behind his head, and the like not even just him playing it, the complicated things he was playing while playing it behind his back. And, you know, like I mentioned, I'm a big blues fan, and he obviously did a lot of like blues rock, but like he could do like Texas Flood, where he's like pulling that back and it's just that all feeling, all very raw guitar playing. I also noticed that he would play a lot with like a thumb ring pick. So like he's not like strumming, he's all playing off of like uh his picks, like one of those types of rings that you put on like your thumb and stuff like that. And I used to have his dual pack of his performances at the Montreux Jazz Festival because he played in 82 and nobody cared. And he was like killing it as this, he hadn't broken out yet. But luckily, Jackson Brown and David Bowie saw him perform at that jazz festival, and Jackson Brown produced his Texas Flood album, And then he went on tour with Stevie Wonder
Hmm.
and was his guitarist on tour. And then in 85, 3 years later, he came back and people were like, we've loved him the whole time. And like that crowd was eating it up. And he came out in a feathered hat and like this gold jacket, and he had a full beard and everything and the earrings, and it was just like he was definitely going out there to be like, I'm the show today. And it's so tragic because he died young in a helicopter accident after playing with Eric Clapton, and he was trying to fly to his next gig.
And getting clean from heroin, I
Yes,
believe.
he had a lot of drug and alcohol problems and got clean and then died tragically in a helicopter accident.
That's so sad. Yeah.
And he just like I can listen to all of his music, and apparently Eric Clapton said Jimi Hendrix is the best guitarist, but his favorite guitarist was Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Mhm.
And it's like some bold praise. And
Yeah.
like obviously Stevie Ray Vaughan was really influenced by Jimi Hendrix too, because he covered a lot of his songs from Voodoo Child and Little Wings and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
His Voodoo Child's like 12 minutes long, and it is amazing. So, but no, I love Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Pride and Joy is one of my favorite songs. Obviously that's one of his like much more like commercial songs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Um, but even like that, he it was so entertaining to just watch it. Like that's why I loved watching that concert film that I had of his, because like he put on a show. Like he wasn't just up there playing guitar. He
Right.
was
Yeah.
doing all. At one point during one of his songs, he was swinging his guitar back and forth in front of him and behind him and was strumming while doing like, now you're just showing off. Like obviously. But no, so
Yeah.
it was really hard for me to narrow down that last one because like a couple other names that were up there for me, it's like I love Alex Lifeson from Rush. I love David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. Like, if you want to hear a guitar weep, like listen to Comfortably Numb and the way David Gilmour plays that. Richie Blackmore's up there for me too, whether it's Rainbow or Deep Purple or even Blackmore's Night, where he does his Renaissance music with his wife. Um, but I if you asked me this a few years ago, my number three would have easily been Ted Nugent. Because I do love Ted Nugent's music. Um, I honestly can barely stand also at this point. Um, he's a fake libertarian. I'm just throwing that out there. Just saying. But like Stranglehold, like one of the coolest guitar songs ever. And I love all the blues music and stuff. And obviously I listen to a lot of metal music. Zach Wild's really cool and up there. Glenn Tipton from Judas Priest, for sure. So
Oh
how
wow.
about some of the other ones that you both have like honorable mention wise?
That's tough for me, man. It's you mentioned some great guitar players. I'm not surprised that you didn't pick Alex Lifeson, because you know there's something. Even though he's such an amazing musician, there's something like that's less flashy about
He
him.
gets extremely overshadowed in his own band by the
Right.
two other people in his band.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, very
you
much so.
listen
He
to
actually
songs,
does. He's like the quiet one. Ironically, it's kind of funny.
he's the least recognizable one. It's so funny because in that
Yeah.
Rush documentary, people are like, "You're Geddy Lee. Can we get your autograph?" And he's literally sitting right next to Alex, and he's just like, "Oh my god, it is Geddy Lee." Obviously, he's really recognizable,
Yeah,
Geddy Lee, with like his whole look. and
Sure.
everything. But no, like you listen to a song like Limelight and the guitar solo in that is amazing. And like all three of them are
Yeah.
ridiculous musicians and just the craft and everything.
Yeah.
Like something like YYZ, that's literally them just showing off at that
Yeah.
point.
It's crazy that song. That song's got it's such an amazing song. Sometimes I love instrumental music too.
Mhm.
Just instrument is just great.
La
But I
Villa Strangiato is like a 9 minute, just crazy instrumental. The
okay.
three of them. They said that they had to record that song in so many pieces. Because
Yeah.
they're like, we literally can't play this live.
Right.
It's too
Right.
complicated.
Wow. That makes me feel a little bit better about overdubs. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy to put him in an honorable mention, and it's probably going to sound cliche, but I mean, Eddie Van Halen. I don't like Van Halen. I've always been a non Van Halen guy, but some of his guitar playing was like out of this world. It's crazy what he could do with the guitar. And although I will say I've opened my mind to like that first Van Halen, maybe first two Van
I think I
Halen.
put David Lee Roth in the same place as like Robert Plant, where I'm like, you're definitely my least favorite part of this band. I can...
Oh,
Oh,
you
you're all
mean
mute, Jim.
Well, I'm back, but okay. Is Sammy Hagar any better? Is what I was trying to say.
Van Hagar.
I don't know. I mean, that was just, hey, look, it was the 80s. Everybody was, there's a lot of
Oh,
cocaine, tight
I can't believe I
pants.
forgot. One other one that was really high up there for me is Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top.
ZZ Top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Love ZZ Top. I
I never even
particularly
listened to
love
him.
like early 70s. Like supposedly Billy Gibbons taught Jimi Hendrix how to play slide guitar.
Oh, really? Wow. That's
Because
great.
like ZZ Top were around from like the 60s.
Yeah.
They just didn't hit it big until like, they became strange MTV stars
Mhm.
with
Yeah.
like all those crazy music videos and stuff they did like that. But like something like LaGrange and Tush and like that kind of like early 70s bluesier ZZ Top, huge fan of.
I gotta
Yeah.
Jim, do you have honorable mentions?
Just since we've started, I've written down one, two, three, four, five, six. I wrote down seven, but I crossed two of them out because we threw Dwayne Allman's name out there, totally deserving. And I mentioned Robin Ford already, who is not young at this point.
Mm.
Um, Tom Morello,
Oh, yeah.
probably.
Hell yeah.
He's. I remember hearing Audio Slave's first album, and I was a teenager. Having recently discovered Led Zeppelin, I wasn't ready for Tom Morello. And I don't know that I can give Tom Morello a bigger compliment
Mm.
than that. I remember telling somebody on my hockey team that like if Audio Slave had a guitarist like I don't know, and I named a couple people because I just didn't know what to do with Morello's noise, you know. But he's yeah, as far as like groundbreaking
Mhm.
um, guitar players that did something to kind of push the boundaries of the instrument and sonically like expand the palette. Yeah, I guess that would have to be my honorable mention.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So many great guitarists to enjoy out there.
Yeah.
But any other thoughts, people they want to shout out before we wrap this show up?
Um, there's so many. Oh my God. There's so many. None of the Beatles were mentioned. That's okay.
That's okay. We mentioned Clapton, and he played with the Beatles on like one recording, so we're
Yeah.
covered.
I
Was
can't
it?
remember what song that was called. So
Well, my guitar gently
no,
weeps.
I know.
Oh, I was gonna say that's rock's worst kept secret, but you
Right.
were just messing with me the whole time.
I was gonna say it before for the Eric Clapton. It suits that we end with Eric Clapton on "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." Yes, you can't. Hey, he'll always have that, even if you don't like anything else.
I'm a big Clapton fan. Maybe a little less of like old man shaking fists at the sky, Eric Clapton that's going on right now.
I think he had some great moments. I think he had some great songs, here and there. But
Me too. I own the box set. I think it was called Crossroads. It's the size of a vinyl, but it's got 3 or 4 CDs in it. One of my favorite songs off the whole thing was a duet he did with Dwayne Allman, acoustically, slide guitars. I want to say it was called Mean Old World, but I
hmm.
could be wrong about that because I haven't listened to that in a long time.
I really enjoy his album he did with BB King, Riding with the
Riding with the
King.
King. Nice.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'll have to check that out.
And I guess one other Joe Bonamassa, the 8-year-old who, opened for BB King and is a guitar virtuoso. They have a new album, a 100th birthday celebration tribute album to BB King coming out momentarily. And I've heard some of the cover songs on it, and I'm like, damn, this is some good shit.
Nice. That's
So
cool.
keep an ear out for that one. But that is a wrap here on another episode of Wasteland Talks. Wasn't an album this time, but we did still talk about music. But Alex and Jim, thank you both so much for coming on as always.
Always a pleasure.
And thank all of you out there for always tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.